Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Season Ticket Holders. I'm your host, Dane Lillingston, and it was a big weekend of fights, plenty of football, and our favourite Muay Thai champion, Tom Hayfield, is back again. Tommy, you're excited. We're not all like the rest of us, mate. You got to watch yours in a sauna. Wouldn't it be nice? How are you, mate, firstly?
I'm good, Dane. I'm good. How are you, bro? It was a great weekend.
Yeah, look, mixed weekend for me. I was just telling you a little bit, but at the pub I was at, it was Tim Tszyu and the boxing with the commentary, a majority of the screens, then the UFC on the side. And then once Pacquiao fought, it did switch to the UFC, but I was heavily invested in Tim Tszyu, and that was heartbreaking, and we are going to get into that result in a little while. But I know for you, you're on cloud nine still, mate, because your boy Max Holloway ruined Dustin Poirier's retirement fight. Do we want to just dive straight into the main event, mate? Because I know that you're a very happy boy.
Yeah, it was what a fight. What a fight. Like it obviously it ended up living up to expectations. For me personally, it was awesome to see Max win. It definitely felt obviously it was Dustin's night. Everyone was there for Dustin. His walkout was incredible. The whole stadium was up on their feet. And then you just see little old Max Holloway walk on out second because he's got the BMF belt. But it was literally him and his four trainers, and he could hear a pin drop in there. Like it was Dustin's night, and Max Holloway came and spoiled the party. But what a fight! It was incredible.
You touched on it a little bit there, but the walkouts. We all heard that it was going to be Lil Wayne. I thought he was going to be performing, and then in the end, he was just like sort of part of Dustin's entourage. It was really sort of low key. Do you remember that?
It was strange. Yeah, I have no idea why they didn't give him a mic. There was a lot of hype and lead in, and then Lil Wayne just walked out like a corner man or the cut man or something. Like you've got a pretty big star there. Give him a mic. Get him on the mic. It would have got the crowd going ballistic.
And they also said he was going to wrap the belt around. Now, from memory, he didn't do that either, did he?
He did do that. He did wrap the
do
belt.
it in the end?
Yeah, and he was a bit fumbly with it, but he got it done. Yeah.
Okay. That's my bad. Maybe I was
too many beers at the pub day.
Yeah. I can say that I did really enjoy the fight. I'm dirty on myself because all week my prediction was Holloway decision. Then the mates I was watching the fight with and the betting odds were like, well, do you get on Poirier knockout just as some sort of fairy tale? So I did switch my bet last minute. Very upset that I did because we were right all along. It was Holloway by decision. He avoided that second trilogy donut. Obviously, he lost all three to Volkanovski. He finally claws one back against Dustin, so their trilogy finishes 1-2. As far as the fight itself goes, mate, just a pretty dominant all-round performance, what we've come to expect from this inclination, this modern version of Holloway. He just did what he needed to do. I think he only really looked troubled in maybe a round and a half in the middle, sort of second, third, where Dustin maybe had a bit of success. But really, just an all-round performance. Holloway looked more dangerous. He looked more crisp on the feet. He was landing the better combinations. What did you just make of his performance?
It was a back and forth war, and I said it to my mates when we were watching it. I didn't actually watch it in the sauna after all that. We cooked a barbecue and we watched it at my house.
I was going to say, what a nice privilege it would be, mate, to sit there, kick your feet up at the sauna, chuck the UFC on.
No, it was good, and we sipped soda waters because we're doing the dry July. But no, it was good. But back to the fight, it was a back and forth war, and I even said to my mates, I'm like, this is really higher caliber. Like we're watching two awesome fighters just go at it here, and the combinations, like especially Holloway's combinations, they were just crisp. There was like 5 or 6, shots within a combination. It wasn't just, popping a jab and waiting. It was just like a flurry, and they were crisp. Things were landing. It was just beautiful to watch. That second round where they both had each other rocked. It could have been anyone's game like that. They both had their moments, and it looked like the fight could finish at any second. And it was just had you on the edge of your feet, and it was just beautiful to watch. And a dominant performance by Max Holloway. But gee, you got to give it to Poirier as well. It was a war.
It was, mate. And I think at the end, I was pretty happy with the judges' scorecards. I think it was 2 had it 49-46. I think it was the round 3 I gave to Dustin. Maybe it was round 2. I'd have to go back and watch. And then 1 had it 48-47. So pretty clear. I think Dustin might have said after the fight he thought it was a bit closer than it was. But, I mean, he went out with a totally brave performance against Max Holloway, who's really been tuned up in recent years with great fights, as has Dustin. But Max has gotten better with age almost, I'd say. The end, that's what I wanted to touch on. The absolute end of the fight. I was talking with my mates at the time. We sort of knew it was coming. Max was going to give him a little chance at the end, but it felt like Dustin maybe just had nothing left to give because Max did the point middle. It looked like he was ready to go down for that last 10 seconds. Dustin didn't get the memo, or maybe he just didn't want any part of it because it looked like he was done, right? Like he just didn't bite.
Yeah, it was kind of like, when's it coming? When's it coming? And I felt like they were looking up at the clock in that last minute or so. Both of them were. They had their moments. They glanced up at the clock to see how much time was left during the fight. And, you know, typical Max Holloway, he had that fight won. He probably knew he had that one. He doesn't have to give Dustin that shot. He doesn't have to point at the ground. He does. And they both agreed to it and they teed off. And I reckon Max Holloway went to the body. He landed probably like 15 shots to Dustin's two.
Mm.
And Dustin was probably like, I don't want to end up like Justin Cagey on my retirement fight. So I'm going to clinch here and put an end to this. And we'll see out the rest of the fight with a bit of a clinch. So, but what an entertaining, awesome fight. Like, it doesn't get any better as a UFC fan. It's a 5-round war. The point at the ground happens. They stand there and tee off on each other. It's what it's all about.
Two legends of the sport, two future Hall of Famers. More could you ask for? Like you said, Dustin goes out. I mean, who could blame him for the way he's had an amazing career? Will go down as one of the all-time greats in the division, and one of those guys that I think everyone just loves. Right, he's got that personality where everyone loves. And I suppose for Max, the most intriguing current fighter question now is, you being a big fan, where does he go from here? Because he's had sort of like an up and down time. Obviously, he had the Ilya challenge, who no one's really up to at the moment with Poirier. What sort of fight would you want to see as a fan from Max Holloway next?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he called out Ilya, so I guess that's where his head's at. But I don't know. I'd prefer to see Ilya versus Makachev. I'd almost save Ilya for that fight. Makachev versus JDM, and then potentially come back down to versus Ilya for that super fight. And then Max Holloway, I'd put him against someone fun like a Paddy Pimblett or something. Just, you're going to pull in a massive crowd. They're going to be on the mic talking it up. It's going to be a huge fight. It's something that hasn't been done before. Him versing like an Oliveira again, it doesn't excite me. It's been done before. Oliveira's been around the traps. Give him some new blood. Give him a Paddy Pimblett. Give him something like that and get the crowds talking, get it all going.
I think that's a great shout, actually. I was going to say, I have heard Oliveira thrown around a lot. Calling out Ilya, I don't think anyone really wants to see that fight again. But Paddy is a great shout, man. I actually would really be keen for that. Matchmaking, Tom Hayfield, he's available. Mate, so that was pretty much it for the main fight. I mean, a good main event. Look, I know I told you I wasn't super impressed with the main card, but maybe that was because I had one eye on the boxing. And I know Holloway did say after the fight, we got robbed. Uncle Dana didn't even give us the fight of the night. That went to Vittori on the preliminary fight. So
how that didn't get fight of the night is beyond me. Like, the Vittori fight was good, but the caliber of that main event and the two people that are throwing down, how do they not get fight of the night? And what a nice little retirement bonus for Dustin to, go and buy something nice but it definitely was his night, and the UFC put on such an amazing event for him. It was all for him in his hometown, and like even the video packages leading up in that main card of him sitting there watching back on Vision of his career, and people in the fight game talking about him and his wife and his kid, and it was such a strong, powerful package. He's sitting there that definitely got you emotional, and he deserves it. He's such an amazing fighter, and he did a lot of things for the UFC, and I felt like they really honoured him in a really good way, and it was a great send-off.
100%, end of an era of 8, and he's going to go down as one of the all-time champions. I just wanted to go through a little bit more of the main card. You were obviously pretty tuned in by the sound of it. Mate, we both actually spoke to each other. Bets were a tough one. Getting the picks right in this one was pretty tough. Paulo Costa, I sort of wrote him off a little bit. That was to my own detriment because he looked pretty good in that co-main event. He was pretty strong.
It was vintage Paulo Costa. He came in, he had a bee in his bonnet, and he went for it. And it was awesome to see because, he's had some fights where he didn't really pull the trigger. But I felt like this fight, couple of, I don't know, he's known as a boxer. His hands were around his waist. I don't know if that's his normal style. He's throwing from the hips. It was interesting to watch, but it very much suited Paulo's kind of fighting style. It was like, land a couple of shots, come back, rest for a second. land a couple of shots, come back, rest, and he was allowed to do that the whole fight, and I felt like he controlled it, and he could get his breather in, he didn't gas, and he definitely won the fight.
Yeah, I bet on Kopylov, so...
Yeah, so did I. My
Yeah.
bets, mate, I had the worst afternoon with betting.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
I think I might have just got the Oliveira decision on the main prelim fight. That is the one I got right, and then I lost every single fight on the main card. Daniel Rodriguez against Kevin Holland. Now, I knew this was a tight one, but I went with Holland by submission just because I had a really nice one the last round out. But D-Rod looked pretty good. All 5 of the fights on the main card, by the way, did go to decision. So it was one of those cards, maybe not for the casual UFC fan, I suppose you'd say. No crazy knockout finishes, at least on the main card. Do you have any comments on this fight?
Yeah, Holland was the heavy favourite, and that D-Rod dude, it was a war. He kind of weathered his storm, and then he just kind of monstered him, and it was a 3-round just kind of belting, and he definitely won, and he showed some serious heart, and it was a really entertaining fight. I feel like that fight was definitely one of the standouts on the main card as well.
Well, he made it 3 in a row, old D-Rod. Kevin Holland was on a nice little streak, but that was his 4th fight. Is that right, of the year? So
maybe he's a bit fatigued.
Yeah, I mean, I know a couple of them were quick. Let me just double check that. But that's a lot, man, for anyone to be able to do. And I know some of them were sort of quick finishes, but for him to be able to do that, yeah, he had his first fight in January, lost to Reina de Ritter. Then he had a win in March and June, and then he was back in July a month later because he got that quick submission against in June, Vincent Luque, Anaconda choke. So yeah, but pretty crazy, man. 4 fights, and we're only 7 months into the year. So I do like him, but maybe he needs to have a rest day, mate. Have a spell.
Did you like that fight?
I did. I mean, I like Holland. He's a weird sort of guy to sort of pin down, but I did like him. To be fair, that might have been just as the boxing was sort of, I was getting over the boxing and then getting back into the UFC at this time. So yeah, but unfortunate for Holland, but D-Rod did look good. The other one was Patricio Pitbull against Dan Ige. Again, I was not impressed with Patricio coming over from Bellator and losing that first up fight. And then I was like, yeah, I think Ige's got him here. Again, totally wrong.
Mm-hmm. I thought the same. Ige stuffed up a lot of my multis, but nah, man, it was a bit of a slow first round. Pitbull took a while to get going. It was a bit kind of frustrating. I was sitting with my mates and we were kind of writing him off. We're like, this guy did this last fight. He's doing it again. What's going on? And then in that second round, he landed a couple of big shots, had Ige rocked, and then it just kind of went his way from there. So again, not the most entertaining fight. I was a little bit frustrating to watch. I wasn't super impressed with him, but he got the job done. And Ige, tough night for him. It was a little bit disappointing because he's such a good fighter.
I don't know why. I always like people coming from outside organizations and performing well. So I was happy to see Pitbull get the win. I know he's like 39, but to see him get the win, I have a soft spot for like Bellator and guys who come from outside. So respect to him. And then the opening fight in the main card, I got to say, I probably caught none of this, to be honest. It was Michael Jordan versus Daniel Zellhuber. And again,
Michael Jordan.
Basketball. Michael Jordan, Michael Johnson. He's no Michael Jordan. That's for sure. Need another coffee. He is 39, and I watched him back in the day in The Ultimate Fighter, and Zellhuber was very cocky at the press conference. I remember watching that. I did some stories on the pre-fight press conference, and I thought he'll back it up, and Johnson pulls out like a vintage grinding veteran UFC performance to screw my bet.
Yeah, that was the only bet I won. Because I was like, I'll just put a little bit on him because he was paying a lot. And
he was. Yeah, I remember looking, he was like $7 or $8. He was really rated no chance in that fight.
It was crazy. And the young guy, is he like a Versace model or something? Or was like a runway model or something?
Nice smile.
Yeah, gorgeous. So yeah, he came out and it was a war. It was good. But Johnson, I feel like he must have pissed him off because he was angry and it showed, and it was a good fight. It was a good way to start the card, and it was awesome. He definitely won, so it was cool. And won a bet, so I'm stoked.
I think there was more to it because there was heat out of all the fighters on the main card on the pre-fight press conference on the Friday. Those were two that definitely seemed the most hate between them. I don't know what the exact backstory of that was, but I could sense. So I wasn't surprised that he came out like that because that was something. We spoke a little bit about the prelims, mate, but the only other fight I really wanted to speak to was our Aussie boy, Jimmy Crute. I don't know if you caught the highlights of that, but he pulled off
He was on the early prelims. He was super early. I missed it. And I went on the UFC app and I'm like, oh my God, he's already fought. And yeah, I'll let you do the honors.
Beautiful performance, mate. Submission armbar, 4:41 minutes into the first round. He hadn't won since October 2020. He was riding one of the weirdest 5-fight streaks you'll ever read. He had a majority draw in that card we were at in Sydney back in February. And then he had a loss, another draw, another majority draw, and then 2 knockouts before that. So that stretch, that was a 5 losing streak that was just insane. To see him bounce back, he was 12-1 before he went on that little run. He was rated one of the real up-and-coming guys. He's a light heavyweight around the world. And then he just sort of had that massive skid. I mean, Jamal Hill and Anthony Smith stoppages were in there. But to bounce back now with a really nice submission armbar, you love to see it, right?
Good on him, man. That's so stoked for him. He's an Aussie fighter that's been around for a while, and good to see him win. And I have to go back and watch it because I haven't seen it. But yeah, good on him. It's awesome.
Strong armbar, mate. Like it was really nice. So to be able to see him do that, he's got a great ground game, obviously. And let's see if maybe he can bounce back. I did look; he's only 29 still, so it's not like
he's been around for a while. He must have been very young. Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, 29. The New South Wales dude, he had his first professional fight in 2016. So that was 9 years ago. So he was 20. So he's been doing it for a long time. He made his UFC debut on Dana White's Contender Series back in 2018. So, yeah, he's still. Let's see if he can turn around. It'd be great to see. Now, mate, I know you didn't really catch it, but like I said before, the pub did have the boxing because obviously we had a Manny Pacquiao's return after 4 years and Tim Tszyu's rematch with Sebastian Fundora. This was really Tim Tszyu's chance to get back in that world international title picture frame. He had that bloodbath decision with him beginning of last year. Timmy had another loss after that, bounced back with a win earlier this year, and this was his chance, returning to Vegas, undercard of co-main event to Manny Pacquiao, biggest fight of his life, and you got to say, mate, just really underwhelming and disappointing. He really just wasn't, I suppose, in that fight. Fundora came out early. I'm not sure about Tim Tszyu's strategy in it, but it just seems like he stood in the perfect range for a guy that's 6'9" or whatever Sebastian Fundora is. Like the size difference with those two is incredible. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in the UFC. But Fundora is just so tall, so skinny and lanky, but his reach is obviously just incredible. And Timmy's not a massive guy, and he was just getting pecked away, man. He was just getting chipped away for majority of the rounds. Tim had a few moments here and there. And then the weirdest thing was in round 6 and 7, he looked like he was sort of finding a second wind. And at the end of the 7th, his corner stops it, a TKO loss. And me and my friends are very shocked. We didn't really expect it. We're thinking, he said all week in the lead up, I'm going to go out there and die by the sword, die in the ring. I guess a lot of boxers would say that, a lot of fighters do try and speak up that mentality. But I don't want to say that it felt like he quit, but it was just like, it felt like obviously there's a lot more going on that we didn't know, but man, watching it was just such a disappointing performance, man. Like that was his one chance to bounce back, and maybe now we really have the answer that Timmy's just not up to this class. He's just not up to this world championship, world class boxing. Because no disrespect to Fundora, man. He's been on a great run. He is the champion for a reason. And he had another knockout since the Tim Tszyu fight. He's 23-1-1 now. He's only lost to Brian Mendoza. So. Yeah, man, just disappointed for Timmy.
Is it was it like a damage thing, or why would his corner have stopped not letting him come back out if he was having a second wind in those last couple of rounds? You were saying, like, had he copped too much damage, or what do you reckon the reasoning behind that is?
Well, man, I just feel like maybe they even knew. I'm not sure if he said something to them. I don't think he's actually come out and spoken to the media himself yet about his reasons, but it just felt like maybe he just knew that he was outclassed, and maybe it was because, like I said, he had that second wind. I've heard some people say he gave everything that he had, and it wasn't working. So maybe he just was like, you know what I mean? Like he just doesn't have anything else out there. He put it all out there and couldn't do it. And just watching it, it was just a strange sort of performance. When he finally got in close, got in tight, stood in the pocket a little bit, he had some success, but he didn't fight the majority of the fight like that. He tried to keep his distance against the guy who's going to close the distance so quickly. And that's what Fundora did, man. Every time he got his chance, he was just getting that jab up, and Timmy was getting rocked. I think he got knocked down in the second round. So it was it was on the back foot from the very beginning of the fight. And when he finally looked like he was getting back in it, they called it after round 7, and as far as Timmy's international career, like, it's over now. Like, he's lost 3 of his last 4. He's been finished in 2 of his last 4. He's lost twice to Fundora. It just seems like he's not up to that international level, which is a real shame because he's the biggest name in Australian boxing right now. And it looks like his career is just going to be back home here in Australia.
So what do you reckon's next for him? Like, is it as a rapper or something in Australia, or what do you think's next for Tim Tszyu?
I think that is the money fight, man. That's the fight they've been going out for years. It was supposed to happen a few years ago in Newcastle, I think during COVID. Zarafa pulled out. There's some bad blood to this day that's still stemming from that. I think Zarafa's already come out and started to speak it up, saying how people never thought he could win and shit. So I think he's already pushing for a fight. I believe he was supposed to fight Nikita Tszyu, Tim's younger brother, who's also undefeated, but still very much in the younger sort of stage of his career. And now it looks like it could potentially shift that to Tim. So yeah, man, that's sort of, I mean, it's exciting for Australia to have him back here, but it's disappointing that it just looks like there was so much hype. There was a big hype train around Timmy, and he had shown some real nice promise, but it's like he can't get to that next level, you know, and he's obviously had big shoes to fill with his dad with Kostya, but I just don't think he's the fighter we were all sort of hoping that he would be. Still an absolute champion, but just not at that world-class level.
That's a big blow for George Rose and the No Limit guys and all them as well, because that's their kind of golden boy and was their ticket to the international stage. So it's yeah.
And I think they believed it too, man. I mean, why? Of course, you got to believe the hype until you find out for sure. Because that first loss to Fundora, there was that big cut. He had blood in his eyes for 10 rounds, whatever it was. You can sort of write that off as like a unfortunate circumstance. The ref could have called it no contest. They could have run it back. The second one, and he gets knocked out by Murtalayev, was a real shock to everyone. No one saw that coming. And then he bounced back with a warm-up win early this year in Australia. So yeah, it is disappointing. Like you said, No Limit will be filthy because that's their cash cow. Let's be honest, that was their big money thing. He was going to be this big global name, and he was on that trajectory. But that's the fight game, right? You can have all this hype. We've seen it in UFC time and time again. You can go in there with a 20-0 record, and then someone gets you on the chin, and things can just turn in the fight game so quickly. You can go from this rising golden boy star to very quickly on the scrap heap almost, very fast. And the good thing about it is, like I said, there is that Australian career to bounce back on now. He can headline Aussie cards for sure. It's just that next level is probably what's going to be missing.
I feel like, Dane, correct me if I'm wrong, but with boxing, like, is it a bit less forgiving? Like, if you get a couple of losses, do you kind of plummet a little bit more so than UFC, where if in UFC, you lose a few, you still kind of can stay in that realm and they still give you the opportunities, or?
I would say it is less forgiving in boxing. I just feel like in UFC, there's more avenues to sort of bounce back in a way. If you do have a couple losses, there's different elements to the game. It's almost like when you get outclassed in boxing and you have like he has, I just feel like the questions get answered pretty quickly. And, when you're getting on in age, what is Tim now? Is he 30? Like, I don't know where, like, is there improvement left? Like, is there anything he can do to change it? Can he go to that next level? And I just don't think he can. Like, I just think that's the answer now. And which is unfortunate, man. On
it
the
sucks
flip
because
side,
you always want to see Aussies succeed, and he is such a legend, a good ambassador for the sport. And, a lot of Aussie kids would look up to him and be into boxing because of him. So, but yeah, he's still done an amazing job.
That's right, man. And the fallback is we do have Nikita, like I just mentioned. It is brother. Now he is currently 10-0. He hasn't really fought anyone yet, anyone big, and they've all been Aussie fighters, well, pretty much Aussie fighters. But he is 10-0. He's had 8 knockouts out of 10. So maybe the younger brother turns out to be the real deal. Who knows? I've been enjoying following Nikita. He's a real interesting cat, that Nikita, man, I can tell you. On the other side of that, mate, Manny Pacquiao hadn't fought in 4 years. I haven't followed his career super close. I remember watching him versus Floyd Mayweather back in the day. That was the absolute super fight like 10 years ago. But man, we thought, watching it with my mates, one of them is Filipino, we thought he won, and they called it a majority draw, I believe, in the end. So tough for Manny Pacquiao. But the fact that he came back, I think the guy he's fighting is 29. Manny, I believe, is 45.
Wow.
46.
Good on him.
46,
Yeah.
man. He came out, and man, I watched a lot of it still. I was very fascinated by how he'd perform. And man, he still had it. Like you think a 46-year-old in boxing, we saw Mike Tyson, obviously that was a different story. What was he in his like mid to late 50s? But he's just still had it, man. Went 12 rounds. Yeah, hadn't fought since August 2021. And before that, hadn't fought since 2019. Mario Barrios. And that's not like just some guy that plicked out of nowhere. He's 30 and he's 29-2. You know, he's coming off a draw, but he's 29-2. So, I mean, amazing performance by Manny Pacquiao, man.
That's cool. It's awesome when you see, a legend like that, and he's come back at 46 and he's still got it. Like that's just awesome to see.
It could have very quickly went the other way, right? Like it's almost like elder abuse, but it wasn't. Mike
That's
Tyson
good.
and
Good
Paul,
on him.
that was elder abuse.
Yes, yeah, that was hard to watch. Where you don't want another repeat of that. So
Mm.
that's awesome. Good on Manny Pacquiao. It's amazing.
I
Still
think
got it.
I think if anything, that performance just showed like what a true legend he is of the sport. Like he's already gone down as one of the all-time greats, but just another little feather in the cap, I reckon. Now, Tommy, that was a big weekend of fights, mate. So we can't wait to see what's coming up. But I did want to touch on you are a Northern Beaches boy, you are a Manly guy, and there was a bit of a controversial game on the weekend. Now, I was at work. I was at Fox Sports covering it from the office, but you did catch the controversial ending, mate. What did you make of it? Because for those who don't know, Manly did get a decision that went their way. Luke Brooks was going out for a field goal, and they end up calling it back for a penalty, which they end up just scoring. It was a captain's challenge. The ref didn't even see it at the time. And they end up calling it back at 16 all. Looks for all money like it's gone to Golden Point. Luke Brooks did not look like he was going to kick it. Harry Grant goes for the charge down, sort of collects his leg, and they do a captain's challenge, call it back, penalty from right in front, and Manly get another one on their arch rivals. You're a Manly man. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, to be honest, Dane, I only caught the last 5 minutes of the game, and I put it on, and it was 16 all, and I went, "Oh wow, let's watch this." And I feel like we were gifted the game. Like it was, I'll take it, and Manly needs it. And but yeah, it was a pretty soft penalty. I get what Harry Grant did is technically wrong, and it's not allowed. It just wasn't that full on. There wasn't a lot of impact, and it was literally a penalty right in front, 10 meters out or whatever, to kick the goal to win the game. And then and they did, and we'll take it. As a Manly fan, I'm happy, and we're going down to Brookvale in a box for the Manly versus Roosters game for a mate's farewell in a couple of weeks. So we're on a roll. I'm ready to go. It's going to be fun. A few beers or fresh off dry July. So look out.
Saunas, corporate boxes. Who's paying you, mate?
Yeah, this was it wasn't my idea. It was $220, and it's 3 hours of food and alcohol. So we'll get our money's worth.
You will get. I know you'll definitely get your money's worth. You've got some time to make up for.
Yeah,
So yeah, you'll admit you didn't deserve that, mate. That's a fair one. Manly.
definitely. Yeah.
Melbourne and Manly have a great rivalry, and it was actually a very heated game. There's a lot of push and shove early on, and you love to see that. Ever since the Battle of Brookvale, that rivalry's always been good. But I really thought Melbourne would get him, but they had to get Xavier Coates to score a hat trick to come back and win that. Just a feeling in Manly, recently Anthony Sebo was on the way out. They said he only had one more game. It looked like he was going to get sacked. They've now won 3 in a row. They're firmly in the top 8. You reckon they could win it this year, mate? Are you confident, or Daly Cherry Evans last season?
Look, never say never, but I wouldn't be holding my breath. I feel like if we can make the finals, that'll be awesome. And I just want to see Manly play as much footy as they can for the year, and send off Ches in a nice way. He's done lots of amazing things for our club, and yeah, I don't think we're going to win it, but it would be interesting to see how far we go. And if we're playing good and play good for Ches, we're laughing.
Yeah, currently you guys are now 7th, so you're 24 points. You're only 2 points behind my Broncos, who are 5th and 26. But man, is it getting a tight competition? Looks like there's probably 10 teams now fighting it out for the 8. The Roosters and Dolphins are on 22 points and 9th and 10th. And then it's you guys and the Sharks at 7th and 8th, both on 24 points. Penrith above you, 1 point on 25, and then the Broncos at 26.
Pretty tight, isn't it? It's close.
It is,
Yeah.
man. I mean, even from those bottom teams, the Dragons and West Tigers, unlikely. No, they're on 18. They're really slipping out now. They're 6 points outside the 8. So I really reckon it's out of those 10 now. I think that's where we're at. and the wooden spoon race is still on too. Titans are down in 14 points, down in 17th, but the Eels, Rabbitohs, and Knights are only just a win above them. So it's a nice little comp, man. It's pretty tight, and it's going to be interesting. And your Sea Eagles are doing a lot better than most people thought. I was at Anthony Seibold's presser about a month ago where we asked about pressure, where there were stories saying if he has one more loss, he might get the sack. And he went on this big tangent about war and how, really got to put pressure into perspective. But, you're getting the wins for now, and DCE is a legend of the game. So it'd be nice to see you make a little run and get you a few tries in that corporate box, eh, mate?
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good. Yeah, always rooting for Manly. It's good to see, man. Frothing.
Yeah, well, I think it's the Broncos' year, mate, so don't you worry.
What about we got Whittaker this weekend?
Oh yes, let's not forget, man. It is a fight night, isn't it? I believe it's an early one though. I think it starts at 5 Australian or Sydney time anyway. It's one of those.
Where is it, in Abu Dhabi or something?
I was just gonna check that. Yeah, I have a feeling it is, because I was already having this chat with a few of my mates. It might be one of those ones where you can either get up real early or you might have to watch it when you wake up, because I know I'll be at work actually, so I'll be fine. It is at Abu Dhabi, mate. So the main card starts at 5 a.m. on Sunday.
Okay, so he'll probably fight about 7:38 or something.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, about 7:30. Weird one that Bryce Mitchell's on the main prelim for a fight night. It's weird, against Saeed Nurmagomedov. I don't know. Maybe it's finally catching up with him, all that crazy shit that he says.
Maybe that's the UFC punishing him a bit or telling him to settle down.
Yeah, well, he's been on main cards most of the time. Now he finds himself all the way down to the main of a prelim.
I'm excited to see Whittaker fight. It's going to be awesome.
100%, man. Then you got Peter Yarn as the co-main, Marcus McGee, and then there's a few names there I'm not going to attempt to try. But obviously our boy Robbie, I know he came out recently and said he only probably has 3 or 4 more fights, which is still probably a little bit... Well, no, he's only 34. So if he can get back into that title picture, last time we saw him was against that Chimaev fight where he put the face crank on and almost ripped the bottom row of his teeth out, mate. He had to get surgery. So he's had quite a bit of time off now, right? That's October last year. Also in Abu Dhabi. And before that, he had that little run where he knocked out Ikram Aliskerov, and then he had that really nice fight with Paulo Costa before that. He was on a little bit of a run again after losing to Dricus the fight before. So, reckon he can bounce back, mate?
Yeah, I reckon he's got this for sure. I'm excited. I'm feeling one last push towards the title before he hangs up the gloves. But yeah, Rob Whittaker's such a legend, and he was the first Aussie UFC. Was he the first? He's the first Aussie UFC champ.
He was our first, man. Yeah, he was our first.
And, sorry, you go.
No, and then our boy Vol. But yeah.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I want to go back and relive. Do you remember the Ultimate Fighter series, the Smashes, and it was Australia versus UK?
Mate, have I not told you this story?
No. What's the story?
I was at the finale. That was my
ball.
That was my first ever UFC card. So that was on the Gold Coast in, what was it, 2012 maybe, or 2010? Actually, I can tell you because I just had Robbie's.
It was on Fuel TV back in the day. I remember I was like 17, 18 maybe.
No, I remember. Me and my mates, we hired it was on the Gold Coast, and I was living in Brisbane at the time, 15th of December 2012. And me, Trent, and another mate, he was the guy who got me into UFC. So we booked a hotel right across from the convention center at the Gold Coast, had a bit of a bender weekend, and watched the finale. It was Robert Whittaker versus Brad Scott when he got the decision, and Ross Pearson versus George Sotiropoulos in the main, and he knocked him out.
They were the coaches.
Yeah, that's right. They headlined the card. So it was a decent little card. Hector Lombard, if you remember him, he was that juiced up sort of Aussie guy. He had a knockout, and Chad Mendez had a KO on the undercard as well. So,
wow, that's
sorry.
Awesome.
What did you bring it
up
for?
Good series.
Yeah.
I brought it up because I'm like, I want to go back and rewatch it. Like it's got to be in the archives of the UFC app somewhere. And I just remember watching it as a kid, and that's kind of where Rob Whittaker came up and was kind of discovered and started his career in the UFC. And I was just like, oh, I remember that series. I want to go back and watch it. And I was just saying if you'd heard of it, but you obviously definitely have heard of it. You attended there, so you're all over it.
Mate, I think we had a couple hours sleep. I was still pretty drunk from the night before. I think it started at like 10 in the morning too, because I think to cater to American time
America
or something.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it was like 10 a.m. on like a Sunday. We'd have been going all weekend, and it was my first UFC card. I probably only got into it like a year or two prior to that, and I was like, "This is sick." And then
How good.
that first ever card, this smashes, baby.
Oh man, that's awesome. How good. Ross Pearson was a bit of a weapon back in the day. I think he lives here now. I think he's on the Central Coast or something.
Yeah, right.
But
Well,
yeah,
remember
classic.
at the time, Soteropoulos was like one of our first big Aussie guys who had made it in the
Yes.
UFC. I think there was Elvis before him. Elvis, I forgot his last
Sinisic
name.
or Elvis
Yeah,
Sinisic or
and
something. He was on the wall at my MMA gym when I was 16.
yeah, right. Because he was, I
He
think he
was
was
on a UFC poster on the wall.
I have a feeling he was the first Aussie in the UFC. I think,
Yeah, I
if my
think you're
UFC
right.
trivia is right.
And Soteropoulos, I remember I was an assistant at Channel 10. I was doing the sound. I had the boom and like with the fluffy on it, like the boom mic. And it was an event. It was UFC come to Sydney, and I can't remember which one it was. And George Soteropoulos was there, and no one knew who he was, like who I was working with. And I was like, "Oh, can I get a photo with him?" And I said, "Hey, George, can I get a photo with you, man?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." And he grabbed my boom and held it like an axe, and we got a photo together. And I've got this full Bieber mop fringe, like full Justin Bieber, like 18-year-old pimply. It was pretty funny. So
Baby,
that's my memory
baby,
of.
baby, ooh.
How good's your pipes? You can sing, eh?
Let's do it, karaoke. We got to do it, mate.
Yes. So yeah, how good. The
We've,
reminiscing.
and we've come so far. Now you got guys like Robbie Whittaker and Alex Volkanovski. Not household names, but at least they're on the general sporting conscious, which is really good to see, mate, and how it's grown around the world. Tommy, I got to let you go, mate, because I do have an OzTag game to hopefully win for, mate.
Easy, get your step on. Your Shakira hips. The hips don't lie.
They don't lie, baby. They don't. My hamstring does, unfortunately. It's a shot.
Yes. What a way to finish.
Loved you having it on, mate. I'm so happy for your boy Holloway. I'm happy that you're happy because I know how much he means to you. And your little story about buying that sign thing has gone off on socials. So I loved it. Robbie Whittaker, bring it on, baby. We can't wait to see. Maybe Manly too. Who knows? They sneak in there towards the end. But always a pleasure, Tommy. And I'll catch you for the next fight night.
Thank you, Dane. Thanks for having us, bro.
Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for all your support. Really appreciate it. Give us a follow on socials. Take care. See you soon.